white flag. 1 lap left. The spotter's voice is screaming through the headset, but the words don't matter anymore, just noise, adrenaline, static. A car is pushing from behind. Metal on metal. Hands shaking on the wheel, not from fear, but from how close second place actually is. The line comes. For 4 seconds, a driver is a hero. Then the radio goes quiet. And that silence is the loudest sound in a career built on split-second decisions. This is the story of how Bubba Wallace went from P2 to P29, and what he had to admit about himself before he could move on. The race took place at Echo Park Speedway in Atlanta, a 1.5-mile track reconfigured into a superspeedway layout, known for pack-style racing where cars run in tight formations at high speed and positions change by fractions of a second. Superspeedway finishes are widely regarded as some of the most unpredictable in the sport, since a single push from behind can decide the outcome of an entire race in the final seconds. For Wallace and 23XI Racing, the team co-owned by Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin, this wasn't just another Sunday on the schedule. It was a playoff push, in a season where every point carries direct weight toward qualifying position, for a driver who has spent years racing under more public scrutiny than almost anyone else on the grid. On the final lap, a push from teammate Ty Gibbs sent Wallace's car forward, the kind of move built on trust between teammates, executed at over 190 miles per hour, the kind that either makes a driver a legend or a headline by the time the checkered flag falls. Before going further, if you're new here, this channel is NASCAR Voltage, and we're closing in on 500 subscribers. If breakdowns like this are the kind of racing content you come for, subscribing costs nothing and helps this channel keep producing them. Every like, comment, and share genuinely decides whether stories like this reach more people, so if this one is landing, that's the moment to act on it. What Wallace didn't know, what none of them knew in that moment, is that somewhere below the yellow line marking the track boundary, a rule was about to end his night. The broadcast showed Wallace celebrating what appeared to be a strong finish. Fans watching live were confused. Commentary teams were unclear on what was happening. Something was being reviewed by NASCAR officials in the tower. Why was nobody saying anything? Why was the scoring board frozen instead of updating? Minutes passed before the ruling came through. NASCAR determined that the number 23 Toyota had dropped below the out-of-bounds line while advancing position during the final lap, a direct violation of superspeedway rules that have been enforced with increasing consistency in recent seasons. This is not the kind of penalty casual fans expect to see decide a finish. It is a rule most viewers did not know existed until it cost a driver a result he had already crossed the line to earn. Then came the number. P2 to P29. 27 championship points, gone in the time it took officials to review replay footage. 1 rule. 1 line. 27 points, erased from the standings before the podium ceremony even began. A week later, at North Wilkesboro Speedway, Wallace addressed the penalty directly with reporters. The anger had cooled by then, or at least it sounded like it had cooled. Speaking on record, he said, "Bubba Wallace, I mean, it is what it is. We got a better understanding of the rule. To me, I always thought it was like gaining position, but no, it's gaining track position, which I totally did. So, it is what it is." He didn't stop there. What followed was the part of his statement that revealed something more significant, that he had actually attempted to undo the move himself in real time, by giving the position back before the race ended, and it hadn't been enough to change the ruling. "Bubba Wallace, I thought they would care about the data that I tried to give the position back, but the damage was already done. So, unfortunate, and here we are." He gave the position back. He tried to undo the violation. NASCAR didn't factor that into the final decision. Because by that point, the damage, his words, not an outside characterization, was already done. Then came the statement that stung the most, not anger, not defense, but something closer to self-blame, delivered without hesitation. "Bubba Wallace, I think NASCAR doesn't ever want to be put into a situation where they have to make the call, and they always tell us to not put them in that situation, and unfortunately, I put them there. So in all, a rule's a rule. Cross over the line, oh well." Read that statement again. He is not simply accepting the penalty as a ruling imposed on him. He is saying he forced NASCAR's hand by putting them in a position where they had no alternative but to enforce the rule. That is not closure. That is a driver still working through something that, by his own account, still does not sit right. Here is where the stakes stop being about one race and start being about the entire remainder of the season. After Atlanta, Wallace sat 13th in the Cup Series standings, inside the provisional playoff field under NASCAR's current format, but with far less points cushion than the finish on track should have given him. Under NASCAR's playoff structure, regular season points determine seeding once the postseason begins, meaning a gap of 27 points can directly affect a driver's position relative to the cutoff line in the closing weeks. One rule. One line. And now, 6 regular season races remain to close a gap created by a penalty that was not a traditional driving mistake, but a matter of rule interpretation, applied at the highest stakes moment of the night. Asked about the tracks remaining on the schedule, Wallace pointed to recent performance trends within his team. Bubba Wallace, good tracks for us, so yeah, and I think I said it before Atlanta, man, we've been showing up with speed every weekend. Just whatever it is about the first stage blues or the second stage blues will bite us, but Atlanta was a solid race. Just an unfortunate hiccup on my end, so yeah, we'll just go there and just hit base hits. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. That is the kind of statement a driver makes when trying to convince the people listening. Or, just as plausibly, when trying to convince himself. So was this a driver being penalized for a genuine rule violation? Or a competitive team caught by a regulation most fans did not know existed until it cost them real playoff points with 6 races remaining in the regular season? Wallace has said, in his own words, that it is what it is. But with 6 races left, and every point about to carry more weight than at any other point this season, is the situation really that simple? If breakdowns like this, the ones that go past the headline and into what actually happened lap by lap, rule by rule, are what you come here for, drop a comment with what you think NASCAR got right or wrong in this ruling, share this with someone who's been arguing about this call all week, and subscribe to NASCAR Voltage so the next one finds you the moment it's out. If you enjoy real NASCAR breakdowns like this, you'll like what's coming next.